Hello, people of the internet, and also the Freedom Astrologer, once again here and bringing you, and this time, a little bit of a longer dose of freedom. Guys, this video is going to be a lot about relationships, deeper patterns in relationships, and how can some patterns form. And we're going to look at astrological significators that can cause these things in our lives, and a little bit what to do about it. Dive deep into this, and let's see how it goes. So first and foremost, let's start with one of the astrological configurations. Are actually, when we're talking about hard aspects, especially in astrology, usually we're talking both opposition and square. So in this chart, you can see a pretty interesting combination of Venus in the 12th house, which is already a pretty, difficult aspect, but also there is an opposition with Uranus. So now I will also show you the square version. Here it is in a square, Uranus in a square to Venus. And let's talk about this difficult combination or difficult configuration if you happen to have it in your birth chart. So first and foremost, it does bring in, let's say, falling in and out of love very quickly. So you might meet a person in the first 5 minutes, you're like, oh, they're the one. And you're going very deeply already into your fantasy lands of, this is the right person for me, because they triggered something in you, the energy kind of fit, and maybe they look a certain kind of way, or there's something about them that triggers that attraction for you. And now very quickly after meeting them, you're thinking that they're the one. You need to meet them, you need to get into a relationship with them. There's some sort of need for attachment with that person, although you just met them, you don't really know about anything about them, and generally just a new experience with this person. And this is one side of the coin, but let's discuss a little bit what is behind this type of behavior. This type of quick needing of that attachment and quick wanting of that attachment, and almost like these delusions in our minds when we have this in our birth chart. So very often, and when you have this in the natal chart, mostly two patterns can happen in early childhood or during childhood. The first thing is that the parents, or the kind of initial primary relationship that is there for the child, gets broken up. And not only just broken up, but it gets broken up and gets back together. So how this, or what this means, is the parents break up but get back together, break up, get back together, you get the gist. This happens multiple times, and you must understand from a perspective of the young child within that unit, within that family unit, their parents are, during that time, they are their entire world. So whenever they break up, the child loses the love. And so also important to understand that the parents are the love. The father is the love, and the mother is the love, because they are the ones giving energy and giving love to the child, or children, multiple sometimes. Now, what starts happening there is every time they break up, the child perceives that they lose love. So something is torn or taken away. So because usually one of the parents, goes to live somewhere else. Now there's a detachment from that love, from that primary caregiver. That causes a traumatic reaction within that child, because most likely the child is not yet capable of processing those emotions quickly. So unhealthy attachment happens there, or detachment actually. Now the second part, what starts to happen, is when the parents already again make up. This triggers the part of, now the love comes back. So now the attachment, now the parental figure is back. Now I'm loved again. But now what starts happening, if it repeats multiple times, and very often this can also be not that the same parent always gets back together with, the biological father, mother, but it can be that the parent has this dynamic with their partners. And early childhood, the child puts the love again to the primary caregiver. So it can be the partner of the parent, or the biological parent, or the new partner of the biological parent. And so now the kind of back and forth goes on, and their initial kind of relationship role models are acting like that, and constantly doing this, as well as their source of love is constantly being taken away and given back to them, taken away and given back to them. This causes this unhealthy attachment to other people, meaning what I shared at the beginning of the video. I meet somebody, they trigger, maybe they remind me of the parent, maybe they remind me of somebody in my life, in some shape or form, that kind of initial caregiver that triggers something, or maybe they look beautiful, or some sort of hormone they trigger. And now usually it is the love hormone. I get the good feeling, I get the love back in a way. Remember, because what is actually happening is the person in their mind, in their conscious, in their energy in their energy body, they are perceiving that they're getting the love back. Now this is one of the reasons they want to quickly start to attach to that person. So I mentioned also that the person wants to get into the relationship, wants to, thinks that they're the one. And this is one of the reasons why this is happening. They want to get that love, and they want to get that love kind of locked in, we can say as well, because deep down they're afraid that again the breaking up will happen, just like in childhood, just like their role models did, constantly breaking up, getting back together, breaking up, getting back together. And now that fear or that scared part of themselves wants to get that feeling, get that sensation, get those hormones really, into into them or for them, and wants to get that love for them. Now this is quite a difficult pattern to break, and especially during early adulthood, this can cause many breakups in relationships, because you get too quickly into relationships, you seemingly fall in love too quickly in relationships. So this means you pick the wrong partners just because you get there's like a slight smidgen of that feeling or that sensation that you were lacking very often in childhood. And this very often causes breakups. This causes also very sudden breakups that have been building up for a long time, most likely, but you can't see them. And sometimes you break up all of a sudden, and like the marriage is annulled, or so these types of very sudden events that end the relationship later on down the line. So first and foremost, the first thing always with any pattern is to understand, and this goes with the other patterns as well, we're going to discuss in a second, this being aware and being acknowledging the pattern that is happening. So you see, you go back and look at the parental relationship, how it was, what were the kind of themes there. Did you see breaking up, getting back together, or was there some sort of other way of where it seemed like for you as a person, if you have that in your chart, where it seemed like for you there was this back and forth, you got a lot of love, and then it was taken away from you. It doesn't always have to be breaking up, or the relationship of the parents breaking up and getting back together, but some sort of love being given to you and taken away, given, taken away. Like this back and forth needs to happen there. And every time, the first thing is always to be aware and acknowledge this pattern. The second part is to start observing this in real life. And whenever you meet a person, to start very quickly jumping into relationships to rush things. You need to start really gradually, knowingly being aware of this, and starting to stop yourself, and starting to kind of pull back from these moments, and go, have a few dates, have a few, healthy, kind of learn things about the person, and build a foundation in a relationship. As much as that side of you is scared and wants to get that love immediately, you need to start doing it gradually and build that foundation. Now the second part is always, or the third part, or maybe the last part, the very important part, is giving yourself the love and attention there. And every time you feel that need, I need to be with a person, I need to be with somebody right now, because you're scared, or you need to jump in again, pull your attention back to yourself, and start putting that, because very much, I need to explain this as well. The attention you give yourself is actually love, and it's energy. So you need to give that attention to yourself and not rush these things. Hopefully this makes sense, guys. And what I just explained, this very much happens, or applies to the other aspects and configurations and beliefs and patterns we're going to discuss with the next. So I'm not going to repeat it, kind of like the solution part. Now, let's go move a little bit onwards. I showed you the Venus in the 12th, but let's bring in Venus Pluto conjunction, or hard aspect, square, or opposition again. And we can also add Venus in the 8th house as well. Venus in the 8th and 12th are a little bit similar. They have some differences here and there, but I'm just going to talk about, and Pluto, Pluto hard aspect and conjunction as well. These are quite similar. 12th house is a little bit different, but the most similar are Venus hard aspect to Pluto, conjunct Pluto, or Venus in the 8th house. And Venus actually in Scorpio as well. Remember that, guys. Now let's bring examples. Where did I have these? No, that's not it. So this one is a good one. We have a Pluto Venus conjunction in the sign of Scorpio. So kind of gives us a lot of the things that I've been talking about. Now, guys, this is a difficult configuration for sure. Obviously, there can be good things happening there with this. But let's start with some of the things that you might have experienced. So a lot about secret relationships, especially 12th and the 8th house as well. So most likely you saw one of the parents, or kind of knowingly, or maybe you even suppressed it. You saw one of the parents, or even sometimes in very extreme cases, both of the parents cheat on each other. So there was some kind of secrecy within the relationship. Maybe there was a third person within the relationship. You, as a young child, witnessed it in some shape or form. Maybe you didn't know it exactly, but you witnessed it in some shape or form. Maybe you subconsciously picked it up. Maybe you energetically picked it up. Maybe you saw it, and maybe even there was a big drama there. And there was all sort of this kind of secrecy within the relationship, a lot of manipulations, again, jealousy, a lot of jealousy you experienced and witnessed within the primary parental relationship. And also a lot about one of the parents being obsessed about the other partner. There was one of them had the upper hand in some shape or form. One of them kind of had the power or control within the relationship. And now you're subconsciously going towards those relationships as well within your adult life. So this means sometimes getting a partner who's kind of dominant and domineering, maybe manipulative, secretive, and even cheating at some point. And there's somebody who can create the dynamic of, I need you, I need to have you, I need to get you. And what also starts to happen with these people very often is they need to get that feeling of desire constantly. They need to get that um, almost like very often it can be also the attention as well. So they need to get that new, brand new attention, because when a love relationship starts to dial down, there isn't always the passion constantly, But now these, because they had this push and pull dynamic also, because the parents might have had it, one day I love you, one day I'm madly, have desire for you, the second day I'm going out and cheating on you and I'm manipulating you in some shape or form. And you had that as a role model. So that, transfers on, that energy transfers on to your relationships as well. Important to understand this, guys, because if you don't start to unravel these and start to kind of dissect these and understand these, you are going to repeat these patterns as well. Very often needs that drama, constant attraction in relationship, needs that secrecy, needs that hidden attention, needs that somebody desiring them very deeply, very, very deep need for somebody wanting them, because again, somebody wanting them very often means that they're loved. So every kind of attention, every kind of this kind of manipulation, all the patterns that I'm actually, or the kind of ways of being that I've discussed here, actually, when they get these people that they get this means that they're experiencing love. I hope you understand this, guys. This is one of the most important parts of this. Whenever these patterns repeat for them, whenever they get similar sensations and feelings in their minds, in their belief system, this means that they're being loved in the moment and they're getting loved. So, guys, yeah, this is a huge one with the Pluto. And let's pull a little bit, let's go a little bit even further with these, and then I will end it a little bit, what's going on also there. Because, actually I want to talk about this right now. Because sometimes it can also manifest in, a little bit more harmless ways. So let's say you're in a relationship, maybe you're married for a long time. But there's somebody at work, or maybe there's somebody that you flirt with constantly, that you're getting that attention from. Again, you're actually feeding that same pattern. You're actually feeding that same kind of, oh, there's some sort of attraction, there's some sort of game here. I want to get that attention, that kind of sweet nectar of attention, of love from the other side. And this is what is actually feeding constantly that need of love. And actually what is going on underneath it is you're not experiencing love. And when you're saying out into the world, or putting it out there, and I want to experience this type of thing, you're deep down, actually, again, very important part, you're actually wanting to get the feeling of love. Hopefully this makes sense to you, and it kind of triggers something in your mind and brain and consciousness, and starts to unravel some of the things and some of the beliefs even that you might have about this, like, oh, I like secret relationships and da 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 da. Most likely not. Most likely you're just filling up some hole within your consciousness, within your energy, with these events. Let's put it like that. Sorry, a little bit of a cough here. Now, let me just check my notes for a second. Now, some of the other combos that are, a little bit different. Let's talk about these as well. Yeah, Pluto in the 5th, in the sign of Scorpio, kind of similar. Venus in the 8th with a North Node. Again, very obsessive about relationships. North Node has a bit of a similar tendency, like Pluto. There's a tendency of what I want to get now. I want to achieve now. I want to, because remember the myth of the dragon with Rahu and Ketu. The North Node is empty. That it wants to get its needs satisfied. It wants to fulfill itself. So whenever North Node is with the Venus, especially conjunction, and especially in a difficult house like this, and maybe even in Scorpio again, you will have these feelings of, I need to get it filled, I need to get this secrecy, I need to get that attention, that desire constantly. I need to get myself filled up with these people, with these relationships. Again, very often, and sexual desires as well. Very often, this is still some sort of pattern you picked up or saw or witnessed within your childhood, with your parents or primary caregivers. Yes, very, sometimes there is, we can talk about, the environment you were at. Maybe you were, grew up near a brothel or something. Some extreme cases. There are obviously weird cases here and there as well. And we talked about the North Node and Venus. We need to also show you, or I need to show you, where is it now? Oh, there's the Venus-Pluto opposition, again, very similar. And, oh, one of the things now, which is important to understand, is the Sun in the 5th house and Jupiter in the 5th house. I think I have Jupiter in, no, yeah. Jupiter in the 5th or Sun in the 5th house. This is a strange pattern in love relationship, is where people really want to get that big feeling of love constantly. They really want that, let's say, constant feeling of, I'm in love. I'm constantly in that very, beginning stages of the relationship, where the dopamine hits are big, there's feelings and sensations and sexual desire always pumping. The Sun and the Jupiter in the 5th house are very similar. Even if they get into a long-term romantic relationship where kind of like they're, maybe it's a monogamous thing, and they agreed that it's a monogamous thing, they feel that constant need for big romance, big love, big gestures of love and romance, because again, it triggers that dopamine hit, or that good feeling hit of needing to constantly be loved. Otherwise, they feel like the other person is wrong, or it's not, again, the right relationship. They can even start to think that the relationship is wrong because they're not feeling that high. Now, one of the reasons why they again need to feel that high constantly was that something in their childhood, this is a bit of a tricky one, like something caused, some sort of pattern that they witnessed, that they experienced, caused that big high constantly. And then maybe there was a low, 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 and then something happens again within the relationship of the parents, or to them with the parents, that cause these constant highs and then lows, highs and lows. And now they need, and whenever they felt the high, that's when they felt the love. And whenever they felt the low, that's where, the feeling of love got lost. So hopefully this makes sense to you guys if you have some of these patterns. And obviously it's worth a mention whenever there's the dignity of the planet, or the aspects of the planet are a little bit more supportive, other aspects, let's say, bringing in, it's a little bit easier to deal with, obviously. But if you have these, some of the configurations I mentioned, it's quite likely that some of the things that I've been talking about you have experienced in your childhood and with your parents. So I also want to show you a weird one, which is Moon, Venus, Pluto, stellium combo. Where was it? I think it was here. Yep. So here is one. So here, this is a very similar one, like we said about the Pluto-Venus conjunction, or Venus-Pluto in the 8th, Venus in Scorpio. And now the Moon is also here. This means really that the emotional need for these things, for this drama, for this attention, for this sexual attraction, for this secretive relationships is there. And they you know, these people obviously can get into long-term relationship, but sometimes it's still their need for that type of drama and manipulation and control comes to play even here as well. So some of the patterns here to keep in mind, guys. So I think now I want to give one more thing, because a lot of these things are, you know, these patterns that I talk about, and these are like addictions. And because remember why these things are addictions, because they're making us feel the feeling, the good feeling, the same feeling that we felt in childhood, and we're addicted to that feeling. Now, once you start doing the things that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, like first and foremost, understand that this is going on in your relationship. Second part is starting to be aware when you're going into these patterns, starting to stop yourself from going into these patterns. And thirdly, when you're in those moments and situations, actually putting that attention back to yourself and starting to feel and experience the lack of it, and putting that attention to yourself, so you're actually feeling yourself, or filling your own cup. Let's put it that way, a popular spiritual expression. Now, what starts to happen if you do that more? You know, very often you do need, you know, at first, you know, maybe some counselors, therapists, astrologer to kind of be there with you, to hold your hand. But what starts to happen is that hole starts to be filled. So, you know, you don't no longer feel the need to go towards these patterns. And if there are, you know, maybe there are real problems in your mature adult relationship, maybe there's not enough attention, maybe there's truthfully not enough attention. What starts to happen here is, instead of going towards these negative patterns subconsciously and going into cheating, going into, you know, I need a new relationship, I need to break this up, da 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 da, anything that is kind of along the same lines of what you experienced in childhood, what starts to happen now is you start to mature. And what mature adults do is they go to their spouse and they start to talk with them, start to communicate with them and say, hey, honey, you know, this is what's going on. I think we're not giving each other too much attention. We're not, you know, maybe the relationship has become stale. We need to have more fun, whatever it is. But the need for open communication, open talking, speaking within the relationship starts to be, you know, understandable. You know, especially it's difficult when you have these things in Scorpio, in Pluto, with Pluto and Venus, you know, in a tight conjunction or hard aspect. It's hard to open up. It's hard to reveal yourself to other people. But it's when you start to gather that confidence and internal attention to yourself, it becomes easier to do. It becomes very much something you need to start practicing as well within your relationships. Otherwise, you still will be attracted to these problematic areas and create all sorts of drama and manipulation and secretive relationships and break off relationships that might be actually good for you. And guys, hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully you start understanding what is going on, what is going on with these deeper topics, with deeper patterns in relationships that we have, and sometimes they're so suppressed, sometimes they're more in our faces. And hopefully this video helps you. If you want to work with me, want to work with these patterns, you obviously I offer consultations, one-on-one consultations, where you can come with these issues and we can look at deeply, we can dissect some of these beliefs you might have. I also did a webinar on it, and you know, some of these deeper beliefs, where they come from, where they originate from, what you can do with these patterns. Please go check that out. And also the Freedom Astrologer out for now. Thank you very much for watching, listening, and see you again soon in the next video.